So, as a Sony 200-600 owner, am I jealous of the new Nikki boy? A little bit. Not gonna lie to you, a little 20mm on the wide end. A little top heavy, not so much. That must be nice. Better stabe, better everything, better colors. Do I regret my purchase? No. Would I switch to Nikon? Keep dreaming. I'll dream of it myself.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So finally Nikon brings out the 180-600, and that's the lens I've been waiting to see. Like, is it going to be better than this? Is it worth switching into that system? There's some pros and cons when it comes to this. I'm hair-litten. So first thing, let's just get it out of the way. You have 20 mils on the wide end, which no one ever uses the wide. I've got maybe 3 shots in my life at 200 mil where I was like, yep, needed that. You're going for 600. Maybe you zoom out a little tiny bit to reframe something. It's mostly the long you're looking for. So like you having 180, you're not bragging rights over here. This shot of a Nikon colored bird is done at 600 mil because it was barely long enough. Why would I ever need 180? I would have missed that. Don't get me wrong. There are moments in time where you zoom out, you get more environment, then the bird does something, and then you can actually see what it did, where it lives. Everyone's so obsessed with filling the frame, like that's dumb. But 600 is not super long. I just find it's like the perfect focal length. If I had a prime, it would probably be 600. I could do with 500. I'm just saying. The Leica 400 equiv, it's a bit. Here's a rare example of me actually at 200 mil. I saw a bee levitating, showing off like it was still. The stillness in its heart was majestic, and it was contemplating life on all levels and different frequencies, and his wings were like going up and down, and you can see them changing patterns, I don't know, and then another one came into attack, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm getting this. Am I in focus? I was manually focusing that somehow. Missing focus, actually, now that I see it back. But still, I was in charge of missing the focus, and I did a great job myself, and it was a fun little shot. I wanted to get that at 600 mil, but the challenge before me, I was like, how am I going to do it? He kept sliding back and forth. Who flies in a straight line back and forth? He was. And I was like, I can't. You keep leaving my frame. Okay, let's at least get something. And so we did 200 mil, and 180 wouldn't have made that shot better. So, like, you're just dumb, Nikon. You made it slightly heavier to do that. You could have just crushed this thing. If it was a 300-600 Tony 5.6, probably the same size. The only advantage you have right now, and it's a huge advantage actually, you're not as top heavy, apparently. It's much more well balanced. This one feels perfectly balanced. Wow. No, when I'm holding it, it's like way up there, and I'm trying with all my might to bring it back up here, and that's where we get the swaying motions in my shot, because it's not balanced. I'm holding this, you can see, it's very much, unless I had like a heavier camera, Sony with their light scrub bodies, it's not right. Never feels right, and that's the biggest advantage, I think, in the Nikon. It's the stabe is going to be much better, and it's much nicer to hold, I bet. I mean, does stabe matter that much when you're doing 120 frames per second or 240 even? It's like, it's always pretty stable. It's just there's always swaying movements, and I think I've seen a lot of Nikon footage that looks rock steady. Even though at times that looks pretty good, but yeah, you see, I'm drifting, I'm tired, I'm exhausted holding this thing. I'm like, okay, reacquire that. It is tough to hold it steady, especially looking in the viewfinder. It looks even shakier in real time, and then you get it back and it's slow motion and it's pretty stable. He left my life forever. Now, one advantage with the Nikon system, you're getting animal eye detect in video, whereas I have to do everything manual. I personally don't mind. It's just for some, like birds in flight, it would be nice to rely on autofocus, and even if you just do regular, like a box in the middle, Sony will track it quite well. It's just, it's hard to keep the animal in that box, and it would be nice to just You decide, camera, but I don't trust technology. Not with my life. Not yet. Another interesting thing, I'm not sure if it matters or not, but Sony has different modes of stabilization. Nikon didn't seem to. Do they need it? I don't even know which is best, if I'm being honest with you. Sometimes I'm in 1, sometimes 3. Some are just for panning on a tripod. Like, I'm just handheld here. I feel like, regardless of not having those buttons, Nikon will outperform it. Here's a shot at 200mm, just so you see, like, that's your kind of life. You're going for your Nikon with your 180mm. It's like, yes, fine, that's the shot you're gonna come home with. It's much nicer if you zoom in, unless he hides behind the leaf. You piece of Red Wing shit. Oh, that ruined my life, but whatever. But it's moments like this, when he flies and you're zoomed out, you have a small chance in hell of actually chasing him. And so it's like, okay, if I was zoomed in, he's gone already out of my shot, because I cannot track birds. It's impossible. I'm surprised I even managed to do this one. I was manually focusing and I did not adapt. I did not adapt. But that's where it's nice to have a zoom. I do admit it, it's nice. Sometimes you zoom out, it's like, okay. Whereas you go with your prime, your professional, much sharper prime, you have one look every time. It's like bird filled in the frame, and then he flies away and he's gone forever. One thing I'm curious about, like, there's qualities of a lens. Like, in my opinion, this Sony has the 3D pop to it. Maybe not in this particular shot. But does Nikon also have that? That's a question. That's a question to ask. And the tonne is a little fugly in the Sony. The Sony funny tonne, ugly fugly. It definitely looks a little busy, especially like you're out in nature. There's often twigs and leaves back there, and it's just, at times, it looks gross. Most of the times I'm okay with it, but I tell you, the best lens I've ever seen is the Leica 200mm 2.8 prime. That tonne is so smooth and beautiful. What a shot. I nailed focus at some point. I didn't? Right there. You saw it. Now, one thing, I'm not sure if it matters, but the Nikon lens is all black. They do white for heat reasons. So you're out there in the jungle, you need white. And so what's going to happen? Heat distortion, anyone? Maybe. I don't like that. Odd. And their focus ring seems to be a tiny little sliver plastic. Ah, man, I'd have to touch it. Maybe it's nice, but this one seems better, even though I haven't tested the other one. Feels like, yeah, there's lots of room. Everything's good here. They have the same short throw as this, although I don't find it that short because I'm holding it by this. So it's still like 2, almost 3 things I'm doing here. Boom, 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 boom. Whenever anyone reviews this lens, they're like, see how short it is? See? No one holds it by this. You could break a wrist doing that. Small movements. Finger and thumb together at last. I'll be honest with you though, like, it's nice to finally have that lens for Nikon, but as nice as 4K 120p is, that's what we're looking at right now, I still prefer 240 for the magical shots. It does not look as nice, but it's never as magical. The 120. I mean, for moments like this where a chipmunk is frozen in fear, you want it sharper. He's not moving much. Oh, he did blink. That would have been much more magical than 240p. I should have done it. But Nikon's stuck at 120 frames per second. It makes no sense. They do 8K 60 RAW, 4K 120, and then HD 120. Nothing improved. It's way less resolution than 4K. Why isn't it double the frame rates? Like, they don't even think we need it. I need it. You need it. Their old cameras used to have like 800 frames per second. They were having fun. We were all getting along, and then something happened. And then Mr. Serious showed up to the Nikon meeting, and he was like, no more fun. Stop it. Just business. Business in the back, bitch. I shot this turtle for like 7 hours, waiting for him to blink or do anything. A tongue flap in the water, maybe like a little water mosquito to fly by or something, anything to happen. Nothing happened. Not one thought did that turtle have. You piece of shit. Another strange design choice, Nikon's whole like tripod thing, I don't use a tripod with this, like, ever. So me having this Arca Swiss blade, like, that's not why I got this. I wanted it to be more comfortable and hefty and to reach out further when I'm holding it like this to be more balanced. Because the other one's in here, then it's even more top heavy. Freaking counterbalance over there. So Nikon's, you have to replace this whole thing. There's no third-party things for that right now. So, like, you're stuck with that foot, and then you're putting a little plate on the bottom. What kind of life is that? So technically, if I was doing a side-by-side right now with Nikon 8K 60 RAW, it'd be more stable, sharper, better. But then I have my 240 frames in the back pocket, and it looks like utter trash, but fun moments could be had, whereas Nikon could not have any fun. They're actually banning it at their company picnics. Oh, and then we zoomed out. What a great shot that was. Oh, thank God we have 180 mils now. Oh, thank heavens. I should have rule of thirded him. What was I thinking? I'm throwing out this shot. I'm deleting it from the video. All I know is turtles can swim. Turtles can and will leave eventually. In the 7th hour, he finally did move. And we got the shot. 4K 120p. We are waiting. He's gonna turn. He's gonna turn away from that patch of stuff. Lentils, I think. I don't know what that is. He doesn't eat those. He's gonna turn, trust me. All right, maybe we just skip ahead a bit. Filming turtles in 120 frames per second, not the smartest decision I've ever made, but you do need to see the subtle movements. You didn't notice his wings flapping. That's how they fly underwater. And I'm happy to have done this. So it would be a nice little setup, Nikon Z8 with that lens. Cheaper than the Sony lens, slightly a couple hundred less. But this is, you can have that used, so it's way cheaper until the Nikon lens becomes used. I gotta be honest with you though, if I was in Nikon, I might even be debating between that lens and the 400mm 4.5, which is lighter and a prime, so sharper. It's not much reach. Would love to see a 500 or 600 Z mount. Sync stabe in there. 25.6, something like that. I'm just throwing it. It's up to you to catch it. So Nikon, you suck. It's pretty clear that you're both owned by Mitsubishi. You already had this design. You tweaked it slightly. It was already in your warehouse. You're not a different company. Nikon and Sony are the same thing. We all know that. You could have innovated. You could have come up with something better, faster, lighter. But you copied Sony's old lens. And you pretty much matched it. It's worse in some ways, better in others. Thanks for maintaining the bar 8 years later. No thank you, Nikon picnic boys. I'm not coming. You don't even serve vegan hot dog meat. You suck. I'm gonna leave. How you doing? Are you buying the lens through my affiliate links? It helps. Linen shirts are now available in your local Value Village. I'll leave. Subscribe for more videos. See you later.